The great hall fell silent as Ambassador Thraken pressed his scaled hand against the glowing stone. His heart beat slowly in his chest. 300 years. That's how long the war had lasted. And now, with one touch, it would end. Across from him, General Solomir placed his own hand on the stone. The Kethral warrior's face showed no emotion, but his claws trembled slightly. Both leaders had lost so much. Families. Worlds. Hope itself. The treaty is sealed, Thraken announced to the crowd of alien delegates filling the chamber. No one cheered. They simply sat in exhausted silence. The war was over, but the scars would never heal. Millions of soldiers would return home to find their planets destroyed. Children had grown up in refugee camps, never knowing peace. The economy of both empires lay in ruins. Thraken walked slowly to his private quarters after the ceremony. Through the large window, he could see the stars. Somewhere out there, battleships still drifted through empty space, their crews long dead. Colonies still burned. The treaty had stopped the fighting, but it could not erase the damage. He sat down heavily in his chair and closed his eyes. Perhaps tomorrow would bring hope. Tonight brought only memories of what they had lost. Far above the planet, in the cold darkness of space, something small appeared. A vessel, tiny compared to the great warships of the Vryn and Kethral, emerged from a ripple of blue light. Its hull was smooth and unmarked. Its design was unlike anything in Council records. The ship's sensors swept across the system, detecting the massive energy signatures that lingered in space. Weapons fire. Recent battles. The evidence of war was everywhere. On the bridge of this small vessel, Captain Emma Harrison stood perfectly still. She was a human, though no one in this part of space knew what that meant. Her brown hair was tied back tightly. Her uniform was simple and practical. Her eyes were fixed on the view screen, studying the data her crew was collecting. "Captain," Lieutenant Tom Bradley said from his station. He was young, barely 25, but his voice was steady. "I'm reading weapons discharge patterns. Massive ones. These signatures are only days old." Emma felt her stomach tighten. Earth had been listening to alien radio signals for 60 years. They had learned the languages, studied the cultures, prepared for this moment. Humanity's first contact with alien life. But they had hoped to find peace among the stars. Instead, they had arrived at a war zone. "How bad is it?" Emma asked quietly. Tom worked his console, pulling up more data. "Bad. These energy readings suggest planetary bombardment. Some of these signatures match what we'd expect from extinction-level attacks." The bridge fell silent. Every member of the crew understood what that meant. Entire civilizations, wiped out. Dr. Rachel Moore, the ship's science officer, spoke up. "Captain, based on the transmission patterns we've been monitoring, a major war just ended. These species have been fighting for centuries." Emma took a deep breath. Humanity had spent 50 years developing faster than light travel. It had cost trillions of dollars. Consumed the resources of a dozen nations. All for this moment. First contact. And they had walked straight into someone else's nightmare. "Send the message," Emma ordered. "Standard first contact protocol. All frequencies." Tom nodded and began transmitting. The message was simple, translated into every language they had learned from the alien broadcasts. "This is humanity. We come in peace." The words traveled out into space at the speed of light, carrying Earth's greeting to the stars. Emma stared at the view screen. The alien sun burned brightly in the distance. Around it, planets orbited in silence. How many people lived there? How many had died in the war? "Message sent, Captain," Tom reported. "No response yet." "Keep transmitting. Let them know we're here." Far below, on the planet where the treaty had been signed, a low-level technician noticed something odd on his monitoring station. An unknown vessel had entered the system. The computer analyzed it automatically. Small. Primitive technology. No weapons detected. The technician glanced at the alert and dismissed it. Probably just debris from the war. Or perhaps a lost cargo ship. Nothing important. He had more pressing matters to deal with. The war might be over, but that meant mountains of paperwork. He deleted the alert and went back to his other tasks. It was a small mistake. A simple oversight. But it would change everything. In her quarters, Emma Harrison couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about the energy signatures they detected. The evidence of destruction on such a massive scale. Two civilizations had nearly destroyed each other. And now humanity had arrived, small and unknown, in the aftermath. What kind of galaxy had they just entered? What kind of species would they meet? And most importantly, would Earth's arrival make things better or worse? She didn't have answers. Not yet. But she knew one thing for certain. Humanity's journey to the stars had just become far more complicated than anyone had imagined. The message continued broadcasting into the darkness, unanswered, carrying a simple hope into a galaxy that had forgotten what hope meant. The emergency meeting began within hours. The great chamber filled with delegates from across both empires. Thraken stood at the center podium, his tired eyes scanning the crowd. Above him, a hologram rotated slowly, showing the strange vessel that had entered their space. A new species, Councillor Vex announced loudly. The Kethral politician's voice carried across the room. Arriving now, just as we sign our peace treaty. This cannot be coincidence. Thraken felt his heart sink. He had hoped for one day of peace. Just one day without suspicion and scheming. Perhaps they simply chose an unfortunate moment to arrive. General Solomir stood from his seat. Or perhaps one of us invited them. A new ally to tip the balance of power. The chamber erupted in angry voices. VRYNN delegates accused the Kethral. Kethral accused the VRYNN. The treaty was hours old, and already the old patterns were returning. Enough. Archon Rolf's voice boomed through the hall. The ancient arbiter rarely spoke, but when he did, everyone listened. Bring them here. Let us meet these newcomers and judge for ourselves. 3 days later, Captain Emma Harrison walked through the towering doors of the council chamber. Lieutenant Tom Bradley and Dr. Rachel Moore flanked her on either side. Emma had seen pictures of the chamber from intercepted broadcasts, but nothing prepared her for the reality. 200 alien faces watched her. Some had scales. Others had fur. Some had too many eyes. Others had none at all. She felt very small and very human. Thraken stepped forward. He studied the 3 humans carefully. They were bipedal, like many species. But something about them felt different. Their eyes moved constantly, taking in every detail. Calculating. Planning. You have been listening to us, Thraken said. It was not a question. Emma nodded. Yes. We picked up your first radio signal 60 years ago. We have been learning your languages. Studying your cultures. Preparing for this moment. A murmur rippled through the chamber. 60 years was nothing. Most species spent centuries preparing for first contact. And you arrived just as our war ends. Solomir's tone was sharp with suspicion. Explain this timing. Emma met his gaze without flinching. We came as fast as we could. We only developed faster than light travel 2 years ago. We have been traveling toward your space ever since. Impossible, Vex said flatly. FTL technology requires centuries of research. Millennia of development. Dr. Rachel Moore stepped forward. She was nervous, but her voice stayed steady. We had certain advantages. We are a young species, but we have been fighting wars on our planet for thousands of years. War taught us to solve problems quickly. Innovation became our survival skill. The chamber fell silent. A species that had been at war for thousands of years? The implications were disturbing. Thraken leaned forward. What do you want from us, humans? Emma chose her words carefully. We want to help. We know what happens after a long war ends. The peace is fragile. Old hatreds do not disappear overnight. We have lived through this pattern many times on our own world. And what makes you think we need help from a species that has never left its own planet until now? Solomir growled. Emma was about to respond when alarms shrieked through the chamber. The lights turned red. A massive hologram erupted above the central platform, showing a tactical display of nearby space. Ships. Dozens of them. Kethral vessels, according to the identification markers. They were attacking a VRYNN colony world called Theros Prime. Weapons fire lit up the display. Explosions blossomed across the colony's shields. No, Solomir breathed. His face went pale beneath his scales. Those ships are supposed to be decommissioned. They should be in dock, their weapons removed. Thraken turned on him, fury in his eyes. You attack us. The treaty means nothing to you. It is not us. Vex shouted, standing abruptly. Those ships are marked as destroyed. Someone else is controlling them. The chamber descended into chaos. VRYNN delegates screamed accusations. Kethral delegates shouted denials. 300 years of hatred came flooding back in seconds. The peace treaty, signed just days ago, was crumbling before their eyes. Emma watched it all unfold. She had studied Earth's history extensively. She knew this pattern. Every failed peace treaty. Every armistice that collapsed. She recognized what was happening. Someone wanted this war to continue. Someone had sent those ships specifically to destroy the peace. She looked at Tom and Rachel. Tom nodded slightly. He understood too. Emma took a deep breath and stepped forward. Stop. Her voice was not loud, but something in her tone cut through the noise. 200 alien faces turned toward her. The human who had arrived just days ago. The representative of a species that had never left its home system until now. This is exactly what someone wants, Emma said clearly. You are about to destroy your peace treaty because of one attack. Think about it. Who benefits if this treaty fails? Thraken stared at her. The fury in his eyes slowly transformed into understanding. She is right, he said quietly. Someone is manipulating us. But who? Solomé demanded. Emma looked at the tactical display, watching the battle unfold. That is what we need to find out. And we need to do it together. VRYNN, Kethril, and Human. Because if we do not, your war will continue for another 300 years. The chamber fell silent. Outside, on Theros Prime, the colony shields were failing. People were dying. And somewhere in the shadows, someone was watching and smiling. The game had just begun. The council chamber remained tense for hours after the attack. Delegates argued and pointed fingers while the colony on Theros Prime burned. Emma stood quietly in the corner, watching the chaos. She had seen this before. Not here, not with aliens, but the pattern was the same. Fear led to anger. Anger led to violence. And violence destroyed everything. She walked to the center of the chamber. I have a proposal. Thraken looked at her with tired eyes. What could you possibly offer? You have 1 ship and 40 crew members. Emma smiled slightly. That is not entirely true. Admiral William Carter, please respond. A hologram flickered to life above the chamber floor. It showed a human man in his 50s, standing on a military bridge. Behind him, through the windows, dozens of ships floated in formation. 50 vessels, each bearing Earth's symbol. The council chamber fell completely silent. This is Admiral Carter of the Earth Third Fleet, the hologram said. We have been waiting at the edge of your space. Captain Harrison gave us the signal. We are ready to help. Solomé stood abruptly. You brought a military fleet into our space without permission. We brought peacekeepers, Emma corrected. Admiral Carter's fleet will position itself between VRYNN and Kethril territories. We will act as neutral observers. We have no reason to favor either side. We gain nothing from your war continuing. Vex laughed harshly. 50 ships? What difference can that make? We have thousands. Then let us prove ourselves, Emma said calmly. The rogue fleet attacking Theros Prime. Let us handle them. Thraken studied her carefully. You would fight on our behalf. We would fight to preserve peace, Emma replied. There is a difference. The council voted. It was close, but the decision was made. Humanity would engage the rogue fleet. Admiral William Carter received the authorization and smiled grimly. All ships, this is Carter. We are going in. Remember your training. We are not here to kill. We are here to stop the fighting. His tactical officer, Commander Alice Bennett, pulled up the scanner data. 23 hostile contacts, sir. They are moving to intercept us. They think we are an easy target. Let them think that, William said. Prepare drone swarms. Load kinetic rounds. And Alice, make sure every shot is calculated for maximum disable, minimum casualties. Yes, sir. Sir, are you nervous? William looked at her. Terrified. This is humanity's first real battle with aliens. Everything we trained for comes down to the next hour. The rogue Kethril fleet saw the human ships approaching and increased speed. Their commander was a veteran named Krell. He had fought the VRYNN for 30 years. He knew every tactic, every strategy. These small human ships would be easy prey. All vessels, attack formation, Krell ordered. Target their engines first. We will capture their ships and show the Council that humanity is weak. The fleets met in the empty space near Theros Prime. The Kethril opened fire first. Energy beams lanced through space toward the human vessels. The human ships scattered. They moved in patterns the Kethril had never seen before. Unpredictable. Chaotic. The shots missed. What are they doing? Krell demanded. Those maneuvers should be impossible. His weapons officer shook his head. Their ships are coordinating with computer assistance. The reaction time is too fast for organic crews alone. Then the human counterattack began. Launch bays on every human ship opened simultaneously. Thousands of small objects erupted into space. Drones. Tiny unmanned craft that moved even faster than the ships themselves. They swarmed around the Kethral vessels like angry insects. Point defense, destroy them. Krell shouted. But there were too many. The Kethral targeting systems could not track them all. And while the drones distracted their weapons, the human ships fired. But they did not fire energy weapons. They fired chunks of metal. Simple, primitive slugs accelerated to incredible speeds. The Kethral shields, designed to stop energy beams, barely slowed them down. The kinetic rounds tore through shield generators. Disabled weapon systems. Crippled engine cores. But they did not destroy. Every shot was precisely calculated. Within 30 minutes, half the Kethral fleet was disabled and drifting. Krell stared at his screens in disbelief. How? How are they doing this? Then his ship shuddered. The engines went offline. Life support flickered but stayed active. Through his window, he saw human ships approaching. Small craft launched from them, heading toward his vessel. They are boarding us, his second officer said quietly. Minutes later, human soldiers in armored suits entered Krell's bridge. They carried weapons, but they did not fire. Instead, they used devices that emitted a stunning pulse. Krell felt his body go numb and he collapsed to the floor, conscious but unable to move. A human woman stood over him. Commander Krell, you are under arrest for attacking a civilian colony. You will be treated fairly and given medical attention. Krell wanted to laugh. Treated fairly? The VRYNN would have executed him. The humans were fools. The Battle of Meridian's Edge, as it would later be called, lasted exactly 47 minutes. 23 Kethral vessels disabled. 0 destroyed. All crews captured alive. Human casualties, none. In the council chamber, the live feed showed the aftermath. Delegate after delegate sat in stunned silence. They had never seen anything like it. General Solomir stood slowly. His voice was quiet. How did you do that? Emma looked at him. We have been fighting wars on Earth for thousands of years, General. We developed tactics you have never encountered. We learned to win without destroying everything. Admiral Carter's image appeared again. Captain Harrison, we have interrogated the fleet commander. You need to hear what he told us. The captured Krell appeared on screen, defeated and exhausted. The attack was funded by an organization called the Syndicate. They paid us to break the peace. They have agents everywhere. In both empires. They have been prolonging your war because war is profitable for them. Thraken felt sick. How long? Centuries, Krell said. The Syndicate does not want peace. Dead soldiers cannot buy weapons. Destroyed colonies must be rebuilt. War makes them rich. Emma turned to face the council. The war is not over. You were just fighting the wrong enemy. The operations room was crowded with people who should have been enemies. VRYNN intelligence officers sat next to Kethral tactical analysts. Human technicians moved between them, connecting systems and sharing data. 3 days ago, this would have been impossible. Now it was necessary. Lieutenant Tom Bradley stood at the main console, his fingers moving rapidly across holographic displays. We have been tracking the Syndicate's communications for 72 hours. They are panicking. They did not expect us to have this level of technology. Thraken leaned closer to study the data streams flowing across the screen. How did you develop such advanced tracking systems? Tom smiled slightly. Earth has 15 major intelligence agencies. They spent decades trying to spy on each other. We got very good at breaking codes and finding hidden messages. General Solomir made a sound that might have been laughter. You humans spend your time spying on yourselves. It kept us sharp, Commander Alice Bennett said from across the room. And right now, it is saving your civilization. We have identified 47 Syndicate operations across both empires. Arms dealers. Corrupt officials. Hidden factories. They have been funding both sides of your war. Dr. Rachel Moore highlighted several points on a galactic map. There is more. They are planning assassinations. Peace advocates on both sides will be killed. And they plan to make it look like humanity did it. Emma felt cold anger settle in her chest. When? 72 hours from now. Admiral William Carter's hologram appeared in the room. Then we have 72 hours to destroy a criminal organization that has been operating for centuries. Does anyone have a plan? Emma looked at Thraken and Solomir. Two leaders who had been enemies their entire lives. Now they had to trust each other completely. Yes. We hit them everywhere at once. Simultaneous raids on 50 worlds. No warning. No time for them to escape or destroy evidence. Solomir's eyes widened. You are talking about the largest coordinated military operation in galactic history. I am, Emma confirmed. VRYNN intelligence to find the targets. Kethral tactical planning for the raids. Human special forces to lead the attacks. All three species working as one. Thraken's face was troubled. The treaty was supposed to end the fighting. Emma spoke softly. It did. This is not war. This is justice. The operation began at midnight, Galactic Standard Time. On 47 worlds simultaneously, strike teams materialized from transport ships. Human marines in powered armor fought alongside VRYNN hunters and Kethral shock troops. Facilities that had been hidden for decades were breached within minutes. Sergeant David Cole led his team through a weapons depot on a frozen moon. Ice crunched under their boots. The building ahead looked abandoned, but their scanners showed power signatures inside. Movement detected, Private Rachel Stone whispered. Big movement. Sir, I think they have automated defenses. David nodded and pulled out a small device. Then we use our automated offense. The door exploded inward. War machines rolled forward on heavy treads. They were old designs, built decades ago to fight in the war. Their weapon systems locked onto the intruders. David activated the human device. It was an AI warfare unit, designed specifically for this purpose. Invisible signals flooded the room. The war machines stuttered. Their targeting systems went haywire. The friend or foe identification protocols rewrote themselves. Within seconds, the machines turned on each other, their weapons firing at the wrong targets. Our tech really is amazing, Rachel muttered as they moved past the destroyed machines. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. Syndicate facilities fell one after another. Their networks collapsed. Their leaders were captured or killed. The organization that had prolonged a 300-year war was being dismantled in a single night. In the council chamber, Emma watched dozens of screens showing the operation's progress. 90% of targets secured. We are actually winning. Then Admiral Carter's face appeared, and Emma knew immediately something was wrong. We have a problem. The syndicate leader escaped. He got to a communications array before we could stop him. He sent a message to coordinates deep in the galactic core. The message played through the speakers. The voice was cold and angry. Humanity is the variable. They have disrupted everything. Alert the harvesters. The young species must be eliminated before they spread further. Emma felt ice in her veins. Harvesters? What are harvesters? Archon Rolf, who had been silent throughout the operation, finally spoke. His ancient voice carried weight. An old empire. Very old. They seeded the galaxy with younger races millions of years ago. Then they went to sleep in the galactic core. We thought they were extinct. If they are waking up, then we have bigger problems than the syndicate, Emma finished. Admiral Carter stood from his command chair. His image filled the council chamber screens. For 300 years, you fought each other. You thought that was the worst threat you would face. But humanity learned something different. The real enemies are not other species. The real enemies are tyranny, greed, and those who profit from suffering. We have spent our entire history fighting these enemies. This is what we do. He paused, looking at the assembled delegates. The syndicate is broken. But something worse is coming. So here is what happens next. We stand together. VRYNN, Kethral, and human. Not because we like each other. Not because we trust each other completely. But because if we stand divided, we all die. The chamber was silent for a long moment. Then Thraken stood slowly. I vote to invite humanity to join the Galactic Council as full members. Solomir stood next. The Kethral Coalition agrees. Humanity has earned their place among the stars. One by one, every delegate in the chamber rose to their feet. Emma Harrison watched as humanity was welcomed into galactic civilization. But her eyes kept returning to the star maps. To the dark region at the galaxy's center. Something ancient was waking up. Something that viewed all younger species as resources to be harvested. And it was coming. The Treaty of Three Pillars was signed 6 weeks after humanity's arrival. The ceremony took place in the same chamber where the original peace treaty had been made. Ambassador Thraken, General Solomir, and Captain Emma Harrison each placed their hands on a new treaty stone. This one was special. It had been forged from metal taken from all three species' homeworlds. 300 years of war, Thraken said quietly. Ended not by exhaustion but by hope. Emma smiled. Do not give us too much credit. You had already chosen peace. We just helped you protect it. Solomir's scales rippled with what humans had learned was amusement. You are terrible at accepting praise. That will need to change. Both our peoples see you as heroes now. The ceremony ended and the galaxy watched as three species became true allies. Trade agreements were signed within days. Technology sharing began immediately. Human manufacturing combined with VRYNN energy systems and Kethril metallurgy. New inventions emerged from the collaboration that none of the species could have created alone. Earth became neutral ground. A place where former enemies could meet without the weight of old hatred. The city of New Geneva was rebuilt specifically for this purpose. Aliens walked through human streets. Humans visited VRYNN markets and Kethril cultural centers. Admiral William Carter stood in the new Joint Defense Initiative headquarters orbiting Earth's moon. Commander Alice Bennett worked beside him, managing defense grids that now protected three species' territories. Long-range sensors are picking up something from the galactic core, Alice reported. Her voice was tense. Massive energy spikes. Something is definitely moving out there. William studied the data carefully. The syndicate leader's warning had reached something. Something that had been sleeping for thousands of years. How long until they reach Council space? 18 months at current velocity. Maybe less if they accelerate. William nodded slowly. Then we have 18 months to prepare. Contact Captain Harrison and General Solomir. Time to see if this alliance can handle a real threat. On Earth, Dr. Rachel Moore walked through the Galactic Cultural Exchange Center in New Geneva. VRYNN scholars examined human literature with fascination. Kethril engineers marveled at Earth's incredible biodiversity. In the gardens, children from three species played together, inventing games that mixed all their cultures. It is remarkable, Thraken said, appearing beside her. The old ambassador had retired from politics but stayed on Earth as a cultural liaison. We fought for so long, we forgot what peace could build. It is still fragile, Rachel warned. There are extremists on all sides. People who cannot let go of the hatred. There always will be, Thraken agreed. But look around. For every person holding on to hate, there are 10 choosing hope. That is the real change humanity brought. Not your weapons or tactics. Your hope. Rachel smiled. We had to have hope. It was all that got us through our own dark times. A priority alert chimed on Rachel's device. She read it and her smile disappeared. Admiral Carter is calling an emergency defense meeting. The Galactic Core. Something is definitely coming. Thraken's face grew serious. Then the real test begins. 3 months later, the Joint Defense Council met. The view screen showed data from deep space telescopes pointed at the Galactic Core. What they saw made everyone in the room go silent. A fleet. Massive beyond anything they had imagined. Thousands of vessels, each one larger than the biggest ships the Council had ever built. They moved with clear purpose, following a direct path toward inhabited space. The Harvesters, Rolf confirmed. They have been sleeping for 10,000 years. The Syndicate's message woke them. What do they want? Emma asked, though she already feared the answer. Resources. Biological material. They planted younger races in this galaxy millions of years ago. Now they have returned to harvest what they planted. The word hung in the air like a death sentence. Harvest. As if entire civilizations were crops to be collected. General Solomir slammed his fist on the table. Then we fight. 3 species united. We will show them what we are made of. Agreed, Thraken said firmly. For the first time in 3 centuries, VRYNN and Kethril will fight side by side. And humanity will lead us. Emma looked at Admiral Carter. The old soldier nodded. We have 18 months. Every shipyard in Council space converts to military production starting today. We share everything. Every weapon. Every tactic. Every advantage. The harvesters think they are coming to harvest helpless animals. Emma stood, looking at the assembled leaders. They are about to learn that these animals have teeth. The council erupted with determined voices. Plans formed rapidly. Resources were allocated. The alliance that had been forged in hope would now be tested by the greatest threat the galaxy had ever faced. 1 year later, Emma stood on the bridge of the Defiance II, flagship of the combined fleet. Beside her, Thraken and Solomir commanded their species' forces. Behind them, the largest military force ever assembled waited in perfect formation. 3,000 ships. VRYNN, Kethril, and Human. Flying together as one fleet. Contacts on long-range sensors, Tom Bradley reported. The Harvester fleet is entering the Outer Rim. They are enormous, Captain. The view screen showed the approaching armada. Ships the size of moons. Dark and ancient and utterly terrifying. Emma felt fear try to grip her heart. She pushed it away. All ships, she broadcast across every channel. This is Admiral Emma Harrison. The enemy thinks we are divided. They think we are weak. They think we are prey waiting to be harvested. She paused, looking at the faces around her bridge. Humans, VRYNN, and Kethril working together. They thought the war was over when humanity entered. They were right. But what they did not realize was that we did not come to end one war. We came to prevent all future wars. And now, facing this ancient enemy, we stand together. 3 species. 1 purpose. 1 family. The fleet aligned perfectly. Weapons charged. Drives hummed with barely contained power. The harvesters are about to learn the most important lesson in the galaxy, Emma continued, her voice strong and clear. When you threaten the children of any world, when you come to harvest people who have learned to stand together, everything changes. She smiled fiercely. Today, they face humanity. And the friends humanity made. Today, they learn that this harvest will cost them everything. The fleets met between the stars. The greatest battle in galactic history began. And the harvesters discovered they were not facing prey. They were facing something they had never encountered before. Unity, hope, and the unbreakable will of species who refused to die.